In a world so mad, we're so glad you tuned into Lady Props. Brittany,
Yeah,
it's been so long.
I know. I feel like we haven't done this in forever and it's only been a few months.
I know. Hi, Lady Proppers. Brittany and I have been taking a mental health months.
Yeah.
Life gets crazy sometimes with me in finishing up my bachelor's degree. Brittany just bought a new house. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sometimes life just gets in the way, but we still love all of our lady probbers. So we wanted to do more episodes and finish up our season 2 for all of you. And because it's so close to home, our episode today is Brittany.
Adulting 101,
Yeah,
aka what the heck to do after graduation, whether it be high school or college. It's such a transitional period of life that you can definitely speak on, Kaylee.
that post-grad life though. Um yeah, I just graduated on Saturday. I am about to turn 24 this year. So it took me 6 years to get through.
But
Um
it was worth it, Like it took you so much longer, but I feel like you know now what you want to do with the rest of your life. Well, kind of.
kind
You're
of.
you're one step closer to knowing what you want to do, but I felt like there was a time where you were like, okay, I kind of have to choose which degree to finish with, and it was just one big question mark.
Yeah, very quickly, my story is that I went to community college because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I've always loved art my entire life. I thought I wanted to do theater, and then I did it at community college, and I freaking hated it. So I was like, okay, cross that off the list. And then I trailed off from art, and I'm always miserable when I'm not doing art. So I'm like, might as well make a career out of it at this point. And so I took a 2-year gap year where I moved up to Vermont with Brittany, and I worked where I was a visual display artist. I did retail, and I liked that, but I also was like, this doesn't feel quite right either. And then I decided I was ready to go back to college to finish up my bachelor's degree. And I went to a school that really supported all of my decisions and gave me a taste of everything. And I'm a graphic designer, kind of.
Ooh.
I can call myself a graphic designer, but now that I officially am a week old with my degree, it's like, what do you do next?
Yeah.
And I think there's 3 big options for anybody who just graduated college is grad school, um, a corporate job, or starting your own business. That's like the 3 avenues which I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah. And I mean, my story is, I moved back home after college and worked 2 part-time jobs that were okay. They sustained me and were able to get me a little bit of money. And then I moved up to Burlington and took you with me. I moved a few months earlier because we moved in February, but secured housing until you were ready after you graduated with your associates. And yeah, we just never left.
I love Vermont. Vermont's amazing. And it's like so artsy up here, and just the people are so nice. Um but I think one of the most stressful things for me is, especially because there's so much social media nowadays, and it's like when you apply for a job, you need to have a LinkedIn, right? And LinkedIn is basically Facebook for your accomplishments. Like, I already think Facebook is a social media platform to humble brag on. But like LinkedIn is just about your humble bragging with your career. So
Yeah.
there's so many people being like, I'm happy to announce that I got accepted into this grad program or this internship, or I'm working with this person this summer. And I'm over here like, I didn't get anything yet, and I don't want to post anything because I don't know if it's concrete yet. And it just like is such a sucky feeling because you don't know what to tell your family yet. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, totally. Like just sitting at a barbecue and they're like, "Oh, so like what now?" I'm like,
I'm like, I don't freaking know.
"Hey, Aunt Susan, like you had your life together at 22 years old, 23 years old, like and I feel like we are definitely in a different generation now
Oh,
that back when they were older and I mean younger, they, were expected to get married young and
start a
have babies
family.
young. And
Yeah.
there are so many opportunities for females nowadays where even besides the big three that you mentioned, there's just traveling and we see so many young females becoming influencers and like starting blogs and you there's a multitude of paths that will get you to the same end point. And I think that's important to recognize as well. Like just because you didn't get the job, your dream internship at Disney World doesn't mean that you can't eventually end up at Disney World, you know?
Yeah. And I think that has to do a lot of like us watching movies and stuff and seeing like, you packing up the Jeep and us throwing up the caps up in the air and you know, Hillary I just watched Cheaper by the Dozen and it's like Hillary Duff like graduated from college and got this like internship in New York City. I was like, that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
plus like especially in big cities like Vermont cost of living is astronomical and you hear about people in like Boston and New York like get ready because when we moved to Vermont, we had 5 roommates living
mhm,
under one roof. I think 6 at one time. Like that is the reality of being 20 years old and having a low
hustling.
paying, if not no paying job.
Yeah. And then it's also where you get to the point where, your family members are hounding you on like what your next step is. And you put all this money and investment into a 4-year degree. And then you step out of college and you're like, is my degree actually like a thing? Like, can I actually apply it to the real world? Because like I remember I met someone at work who was a display artist and they had a bachelor's degree in philosophy and they were doing basically construction.
Yeah.
Um and I was like, "How did you get from point A to point B?" And he was like, "Oh, I just like worked somewhere and got promoted." And
Yeah.
it's like you don't necessarily need to go into your field that you study. Like you can make your career happen in a different category. And sometimes those fields actually overlap each other too, which is kind of weird. Like for me in my field, maybe you worked as a volunteer at an animal shelter or something like that, and you have experience with dogs and cats, and now you're applying to a corporate position as a graphic designer. And guess what? They're partnershiping with a charity that has dogs, and you're like, yo, I have experience in that. What's up?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. And like for me, it's kind of about who you know rather than what you know.
Hmm.
I tell people all the time at my job, I'm an admin at a mental health company. I never took a computer class. I never learned Excel in college. Like, you think I took a class on this? No. Half of my job, I'm flying by the seat of my pants and Googling stuff. Like, it's a known joke that, like, when in doubt, Google it. And there are so many, I mean, besides, lawyers and doctors, and like, obviously, they're not going to give you, utensils to open up a body without like formal training. But those careers aside, you can learn a lot of this stuff on the job with the passion and motivation behind you, like you don't have to necessarily go to school to learn about these things. There's so many resources and books and YouTube videos free all over the internet that will really help you decide which path to take.
Yeah. And especially in coronavirus, if I know if ever the time to make it to fake it till you make it, like this is the time. Like
Yeah.
there's so many websites, social media, like there's so many YouTube videos that you could just teach yourself
Yeah.
on a budget. And so I have a question for you, Brittany.
Yeah.
You're in grad school,
I am. Yep.
right? So my question is like, why would somebody choose grad school as one of their options? as their next step? Like, what's the perk of grad school?
Um, I think it kind of depends on your field. Like a lot of the times for me specifically, it's not only do I hold myself to a higher academia, like I hold myself to a very high standard, especially when it comes to school. So for me, it's about this is how I feel accomplished is, going to school and being able to succeed in that way. But it's also for me, it's a stepping stone into what I want to do long term for a career. I mean, I don't see myself being an admin forever. But by joining the company that I joined, one of the benefits was I got a tuition reduction.
Woohoo.
So I'm not paying as much. I was able to defer my undergraduate loans and pay for school out of pocket, my graduate degree out of pocket, because you just take the money from that you were putting towards those loans into paying each month in installments. And next May, I'll have my MBA, and that will allow me not only to apply for jobs, like corporate jobs if I wanted to with a higher pay grade and also more senior titles, but also my ultimate career goal is to teach in a higher education setting. So to
Mhm.
become a professor, you have to most of the time have a master's degree and higher. So for me, this is my stepping stone. And, I was it was at a good point in my life. My partner and I don't have kids to take care of. We were able to pull it off financially, and I felt mentally ready for school again. And I think that's an important thing as well for any undergraduates who are considering grad school. Make sure to give yourself some grace time. Make sure, if you want to go to Europe, go to Europe. That's what I did. You know what? I took a 2.5 week vacation and traveled to 6 countries because I knew if I was going to enroll in grad school right away, there it goes, like that opportunity to take a long vacation or to go travel the world. So, to anybody who's considering it, talk to people that are in the jobs, the dream jobs that you want to be in, and
Mhm.
ask their advice. Maybe there's an alternative route without having to drop an extra $15,000. And or maybe there's a certificate that is a lot cheaper that you can get rather than having to pay all that money for just a few extra letters at the end of your name?
Yeah, just like continuing that education, whether it be at a formal university or through
Yeah.
Google. I know you can get like certified and stuff, but
Yeah, and Facebook too. That's another thing
Mhm.
is like for your degree specifically, so many Google's now replacing a lot of schools. Facebook just came out with their own blueprint certificate, which gets you social media managing certified. And some jobs are actually saying
They're
that
looking
is,
for that.
yeah, some jobs that I was looking at recently were like, oh, Facebook certified preferred. So my suggestion to people is either reach out or go look at jobs that you want, see what they're asking for.
Yeah, exactly. So for me personally, grad school isn't the next step for me just cuz like it doesn't really make sense with my graphic design degree. And if I were to go back, it would be for like business and that might be in like 2 years, who knows. It's just
Yeah.
not like what on my radar is. But for I think the natural next step for people is always thinking about like, I want to get a corporate job. And one way to do that, especially because the market is so competitive right now, especially in coronavirus, is internships.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found, so don't be me, don't be me, okay? We should have a new segment called Don't Be Me. Um, because like this is it, okay? Do an internship while you are in college. For
Yeah.
me, I transferred to my college my junior year. And so I wanted 1 year to get me adjusted to the school and like back in the swing of things. And then coronavirus hit and nobody was hiring. So, like,
Mhm.
and I also had to work a part time job in order to like pay my rent too. So that's another debate that's going on, like a paid versus unpaid internship. But internships are such good experience because they're great networking tools. And most of the times, companies will literally hire you like after your 6 months is up or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Yeah. And
yeah.
another thing I want to add on top of that, like I was fortunate enough to be able to do two internships in college, one paid, one unpaid. And it really is sacrificial. Like you kind of have to think about, okay, what am I going to be doing at this internship? Because if you're just, filing paperwork, like I was fortunate enough to get an internship where I was laying out publications. I designed a billboard that is still up outside of Philadelphia. And I remember one time you and I were driving back from a concert in Philly and we saw it and like we
Woo.
just had that moment of like, "Oh my god, I did something." But paid internships are very competitive. It was about who I knew. It was a company
Yeah.
that I knew the hiring manager and I am very good at my job, so it's not just because I knew the hiring manager, fair warning, but that gave me a leg in the door and what I did, anybody applying for those types of positions, look for jobs that have unique job titles. So when I went to this open house for this internship fair, there was one table that almost nobody stopped at. And I was the only one out of, I think, three people who talked to this department. And I ended up getting it. And then everybody else who wanted like human resources or IT that were like super common departments, uh, a lot of people ended up not getting it because it was so competitive. But, maybe broaden your horizons because you may be able to find a company that will be able to adjust the tasks based on what you want to do. And
Mhm.
I was very fortunate in that I ended up loving my internship. It was
Yeah.
fantastic and I got paid, which was even a bigger bonus. But
Touching.
yeah, so on that end, I would, broaden your horizons, talk to people, you know, think about the stepping stone aspect of it and not so much like the company name. It's not always about the company name. Like you don't always have to go for like the biggest companies. Sometimes you can get the exact same experience, if not more applicable experience in the smaller business world.
Yeah, and it's also like it's all stepping stones. You got to work your way up the ladder.
Yeah.
Um and then I think the third more uncommon category is starting your own business, which is super freaking scary, okay?
Yeah.
Um
Totally.
cuz like here you are like bullshitting your way through 1,000 word papers at 2 a.m. and you now have this $50,000 piece of paper that says you can do it. And then you're like, can I do it though? Because I think people, especially me, like I'm considering opening up my own LLC for my own graphic design consulting company because
Yeah.
that's like a very natural step for graphic designers. And it's like, can I do the paperwork? Do I have to hire people? Taxes. Uh like I can do the brand identity. That's easy. But it's all of the accounting and the networking and the client organization. It's scary. I don't
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah, it is scary. And, if individuals are going that route, there are so many resources, especially in Vermont. I mean, you have the Vermont
There's
Woman's
grants.
Entrepreneurial, yeah, there's small business grants, there's the business or Vermont Business Network. There's so many resources that are not just you're paying somebody to do your taxes at the end of the year. Like there's so many networking conferences that you can go to and um there's so many resources because there are not a lot of young people that are business owners,
Yeah.
and this is not just in Vermont, it's nationwide. So if you can create an innovative
Service, product, whatever.
anything, you're already a step ahead of the game.
And also, you know what's funny? A lot of a lot of people, I think, especially in Vermont, I think we all have the same spirit that like people are working 9 to 5. People are working for the weekends. You like, I don't want to, you put your hard time, you invest your time and your energy into a company, and sometimes that company isn't good to you back.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like a lot of the times I think people have this entrepreneurial spirit in college, and a lot of times like for my field we create fictional products or fictional services, so a lot of times you'll think of your own own company, like you have the ideas. It's just a matter of putting them into place. And sometimes people miss those opportunities to create their own business. And it's like maybe it's financial reasons, maybe you don't have the right resources, but most of the time it's just like guts. Like you
Yeah.
just got to go for it. And like you said, there's a lot of resources to help you out, and a lot of the ideas and innovative ideas are from your college experiences, what
Yeah.
you've learned in college. So it's like even though it seems scary, like just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, it's an experience and you can throw it on your resume. And also for me, for someone who is in a very competitive field right now, it's kind of like a retirement fund. You need to start very soon because you can grow it as you go along. Like if you decide to open up your own business when you're 50 versus 25, you miss all those years of growing and learning. Not that
Yeah.
you can't be successful if you open up a business at 50, but you miss all that fun and creative jazz that you put into your
Exactly.
business.
And like thinking about especially the younger population that is just now graduating, like you've got the upper hand with social media. Like think about it. Think
It's
about where
free.
marketing in that industry is going. And we're not just saying that because we're both in the marketing industry, but like you know what is missing from this demographic. Like think about go throughout your day and say like, "Oh, I wish I had that." Like, "Oh, I wish that." Like that's how businesses are started. It's a lot of the times creative people that invent stuff that is missing from their lives, and you know other people are usually going to be asking the same for the same things. And really quickly, I want to go back to the experience part of it. One other thing I wanted to mention was there are websites out there that you can do freelance work, and
Mhm.
also don't knock volunteering opportunities and pro bono work as well. I mean, that is experience. It sucks that it's unpaid, but with programs like Upwork, that's a freelance, whether it be creating spreadsheets, doing some market research, or, anything, IT work. There's other things for, if you're more in like a collar job and you need help, like TaskRabbit is also one for like doing like construction things around people's houses. Like that is experience, and maybe freelancing for a little bit will at least give you an opportunity to put something on your resume that
Build that client basis.
yeah, and will get you in the door at a company. Maybe you do freelance work for a company for a year, for a few hours, like 3 hours a week. They now know your name, you're now in a network with them, and they may consider you for full-time opportunities.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking resume, portfolio, cover letter, interviews, networking, all of
Woo.
the gross stuff you don't want to talk about. So, we talked about the three categories, probably things you can go into: grad school, corporate job, and maybe starting your own business. So then when you're up against those three things, like what do you decide to do? Like what do you need in order to make that decision? And I think number one, Brittany, is networking. If going to
Yeah.
college taught me anything, like networking is a must.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, just between the two of us alone this week, I've referenced you to a person for an internship.
I
You've
reference you
referenced
to a
me to
person.
a person for a job. Like, it's like people say, like, the 6 degrees of separation, which means you have connections through 6 people, friend of a friend of a friend. It's so true. Like, you're bound to know somebody through somebody else, especially like in a smaller city like Burlington. There's not that many people. in New York City, it might be a little different. In Boston, might be a little different, but that's where LinkedIn and digital programs come into play. But for smaller cities, if you're listening from, like Portland, Maine, chances are you know somebody that knows somebody that knows the business owner.
Yeah, I think when people think about networking, they think about that girl in Connecticut who her dad works at a big law firm and because like daddy got her the job type of thing. But when we're talking, I mean, yes, that is networking. But what we're talking about with networking is putting yourself out there, going to career fairs,
Mhm.
watching webinars on YouTube and reaching out to the people who were talking in those webinars, making connection on LinkedIn. I had a professor who brought in a bunch of higher ups companies in Burlington. She brought her in to talk about their experiences. And I connected with them on LinkedIn afterwards. And I was like, hey, thanks for answering my question. We should connect. And guess
Yeah.
what? They're more than happy to answer your questions, to pick your brain. And I think somebody actually said this in a webinar that I listened to the other day. It's like, don't network to get a job. You should network to make a connection. It's about building relationships, about building friendships, because like even if you're not interested exactly in the job that that company is proposing, maybe down the line in a couple of years you decide to shift paths, and then Annie, who you connected with 2 years ago, who is keeping up with you on LinkedIn, says, "Hey, my company is hiring a public relations person. Want to apply?" Like it's those type of relationships that benefit, just socializing, talking.
Totally, totally. And like as you say, it's not just the individual who's hiring, like it's anybody. And that gives you a feel whether or not you actually want to be part of that company culture too. I mean, if
Yeah.
you have somebody be like, "No, why are you sending me my like your resume?" Is that really a person you want to be a part of? Working with? And the answer for me personally would be no. If
Yeah, me too.
you network with somebody and they're like, "Yeah, I would love to give you advice on how to improve your resume." Like not even a promise for a job, but just to look at your resume and say, "Oh, I would change this. I would add this." Like, I would, if you wanted a position in our department, I would suggest you learn more about this. That is a helpful individual, and that's, if you're talking to somebody in human resources, they should probably have humanistic characteristics. So that says a lot about the company that you're hoping to work for if they're being a jerk or not being a jerk.
Yeah. Okay, Brittany, I want to try a quick exercise with you real quick.
All
I
right.
know. You're scared. I know. Um, so my college, what I love about them is that they prepare you for the job market. Like you literally take classes being like, this is how you should be getting ready for the job market. And one of the things we learned is called an elevator pitch. So what an elevator pitch is imagine that um you walk into an elevator and the CEO of the business you are dying to work for is in the elevator, and you have from the bottom floor to the top floor to tell them who you are, what you do, and what you want from them. Okay. All right, Brittany, do you have a person in mind?
Yes.
Yeah. Who are they?
So not a specific person, but I would love to teach at Champlain College one day, and I would be talking to the director of dean of that department.
Okay, let's just say that that person's name is Stephanie.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, Brittany, I want you to go into the elevator and tell Stephanie who you are, what you do, and what you want from them. Go.
Hi, Stephanie. I am Brittany Winfield. I'm currently a graduate student as part of Champlain College Online, getting my MBA in May of 2022. I currently work for a mental health company. I will leave it unnamed for this purpose of publishing online, but I work for a mental health company currently as an administrative program coordinator for 4 of the chief directors, which means I handle a lot of paperwork and project planning. And I think that would be helpful as a professional professor because the administrative tasks are just as important as the teaching aspect. But I also have experience teaching and loads of uh, experience with web design, social media marketing, print, digital media, and I've had a lot of broadcasting experience as well and have won national awards based on my popular radio show back in undergrad. I really do miss communications and wish to teach the future generations of the world because my experience in undergrad was such a beneficial experience that I want to be able to give that back, especially in a society where marketing is everything, especially when you're marketing yourself or the future business leaders of the future economy.
And then you would hand her your business card and be like, let's get some lunch. Uh,
Woo!
that was gorgeous.
Thank
I
you.
love
Honestly, I did not know that you were gonna do that, but
it
that
is
was
all
nerve-wracking.
impromptu on
I
this
was like, I
podcast.
can breathe now. Like,
But
but
like that's my point. Like an elevator pitch is so like nerve-wracking that you need to practice it. And what I was in a public speaking class, so we did elevator pitches. And what you should do is, you should introduce yourself, butter them up a little bit. Whatever the CEO, like say you want to butter up Apple. Oh my God, you're so innovative. We love you. Your
I love the new
iPhone
iPhone.
33 is
Yeah.
amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
and then you say your current position. I would throw a little statistic in there too. Like, I've taught, for 10 years, I have
Yeah.
made uh 65 episodes of our podcast. I have, and
Yeah.
then tell them what you want from them. Do you want an internship? Are you looking for a full-time position? Do you want them as a client? Do
Yeah.
you just want to have a conversation with them and connect and pick their brain about the iPhone 32? And then hand them a business card, tell them to connect with you on LinkedIn, get their Snapchat. Like, I don't know. Um,
Yeah, totally. I just, oh my
Valuable.
gosh. Yeah, I was actually meeting with somebody recently that in that field that I want to teach in higher education. And one of the things that they said to me was to sometimes you just have to email like do some research on the website of the place that you want to interview or get a job at or even internship at and look at some of the statistics. Make sure you know who's on the leadership there so you can reference them either by their professional title. Sometimes it's like Dr. Smith or whatever, or by their first name. Um, you know, make yourself already familiar with the organization. I remember when I was interviewing for jobs up in Burlington, one of the places that I interviewed was the American Lung Association in Williston, and they had asked me if I looked at the website to see one of the statistics on one of the events that the position would be coordinating. And that was one of the web pages that I didn't look at. And don't lie to the person either, be honest and be like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't get a chance to fully look at it." Um, but it does help to get involved and look at the website. Another example, the person that I was talking to in the education field, I had mentioned in passing at the start of our conversation that she mentioned somebody's name that was in the department, and I said, "Oh, I don't know them personally. However, I just attended one of the webinars that they hosted and it was phenomenal." So not only did I show that I'm already involved, I know I recognize the people's names personally even though they don't know me. Um, and also I get involved. Like I get involved, I know the person, and I also complimented them in saying that webinar was fantastic and I learned something. I took something
Mhm.
away from that experience. So kind of hit them, you're going to get to know, but don't be afraid to schmooze a little bit.
Yeah,
It shows
definitely.
that you're interested. It shows that you're passionate about and you would make a good employee.
Yeah, definitely like know what their mission statement is, get their story, and also like who's their current client, like what are some of the big projects they've been doing, because you want to be able to reference those type of things in your interview as well.
Mhm.
And
Totally.
then, oh my gosh. And then, so after you're done like researching everything and networking and you are applying for the actual positions, you need a resume, a cover letter, and a portfolio, especially for me, who's a graphic designer. But you
Mhm.
could also have a portfolio if you're like a teacher and stuff too, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, teachers, writing samples if you're going into like copy editing or, publishing. Another thing is references. Make sure that you have a solid foundation for references. When I was doing hiring in my former department, I cannot tell you how many times somebody put friends, their own mother. Like, unless you've literally been working for, it's funny because my partner works at at his family's restaurant. So like that is that is a legitimate, like, they can speak to your experience, but if you don't work for your family business, do not put your mother as your reference. Please, dear God. We are not going to take you seriously.
Put a
And
college professor down.
anybody,
Like
a
that's
coach,
better.
like an athletic coach, uh any leader that you, or if you are in the educational fields, I will tell you that it is totally okay to put like a co-teacher or like a paraeducator that was in the classroom, somebody that can actually speak to your in the workplace experience. Educators sometimes put the principal, but then when you talk to the principal doesn't know all 200 plus staff and exactly what they do.
Hmm.
Tailor your references to who can best speak on your skills that would most apply for the job that you are looking for. But you should more than likely put two supervisors and then a person that is the same or of equal level, or a familiar personal contact. But please do not have more than one personal contact on your references. It does not look good.
And there's a lot of, tips and tricks to resume and cover letter that people wouldn't know of. And I think resume and cover letters are actually, especially in the virtual platforms, they're updating, they're changing. Like,
Yeah.
what are the expectations?
There are literally so many free templates online. Like, if I see one more resume that's in point 12 Times New Roman, like, so you are competing there on average for each one position, there are about 250 applicants. If I receive 250 applications that are all in size 12 Times New Roman font, and I have one person that it does it in like Arial or, something different, even reformatting and just changing the order, that one is gonna stand out so much more than all of the generic ones, and there's so many templates online that you can download for absolutely free and just change the words.
Yeah, I highly suggest if your college does have a career coach, you should go to them, utilize that resource. And even after college, they're still available for you. So
Yeah.
set up a meeting with a career coach. I know like LinkedIn and things like Indeed and Way Up have people who will look over your resume for the first time for free who can help you out.
Or
Um,
going through staffing agencies even. I mean, like, that's what they're
yeah.
there for. They literally get paid to tell you how to improve.
And there's like so many things that I didn't know when I have a resume. And I know a lot of people freak out over creating your perfect resume, but the advice I have to tell you is like you should put a lot of work into it because recruiters are getting 200 applicants and they're trying to find any reason to eliminate you.
Yeah.
Spelling errors, they can't read it, it's like too wordy. And what I've learned the most is that I have like 5 different resumes for 5 different jobs. And if you're applying for somewhere like in Burlington where somebody's actually going to read your resume, you want to add some color on there, especially like me who's a designer. And then if you're going and applying to a bigger company that has an automated system that reads your resume, you need to do it in black and white or they're just going to not be able to read it because when it scans it in, the color won't show up on your titles or anything like that. And also, surprisingly enough, color psychology is totally a thing. So like so my career coach told me this and I freaking love this, is that if you're applying to Lowe's, don't have the color orange on your resume.
Yeah.
Like you gotta do your research and pay attention to those color
Yeah.
palettes and
Same with like red is like panic. Yellow is more like upbeat, but you can't always read the yellow, so not use it as an accent, but not
a lot of
your
blues and
lettering.
greens are good.
Natural tones. Um
I also found out that if you are applying to a job, like say I live in Burlington, but I'm applying a job in New York City, leave the location off of it.
yeah,
They can
that's
find that
another.
out and they're gonna see you live in Burlington, Vermont, and they're not gonna even want to bother you with you. So you gotta leave it off and leave them like wanting more. Um,
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Like, look up what the trends are in, because the last resume writing class I took was in high school. And between then and now, things have
it's
changed a
changed.
lot. And so look up trends in resumes, like how to write a good resume in industry name. It may change based on the advice that we're giving you right now, based on which industry you're going into. So look it up. Like, you literally have free resources at the tip of your fingers.
Yeah, it's so true. And then like once you get your resume and your cover letter and your portfolio together, which might I add too is that you're going to be applying for over like 100 jobs. Like I'm not kidding. I think I've applied to 60 already and I want to anyway, that's how angry I am. I can't even finish my sentence. But a lot of times you're writing the same stuff over and over again. So you want to make sure each time you submit a cover letter that it's personal. And like Brittany said, how she referenced somebody who she watched her webinar. Like if you're applying to say, I don't know, Poshmark, like I applied to Poshmark. I mentioned in my little bio, I was like, yeah, I love Poshmark and my favorite thing about the app is that they send me inspirational quotes every morning. Like, it's something personal that their product, you took the time to write this cover letter and you want the job, like
Yeah,
enthusiastically.
totally. And make sure that you add keywords that are in the
Buzzwords.
yeah, add your buzzwords that are in the position that they're that you're applying for and that they're looking for somebody for. When I was applying to jobs, I had I think 5 cover letters, one for radio broadcasting, one for marketing, one for social media specifically, related jobs, one for education, and then one for healthcare jobs.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And what I did is I made sure that the company name was mentioned several times, and I would always have a template that like literally use a highlighter, because one time I almost forgot to change, like I changed 2 of them and not the third one. So make sure you read it over no matter what, even on a template. And yeah, add those keywords, add those buzzwords, add those specific little cute, the cutesy things about that company specifically.
My favorite like go-to thing is have the job description on the screen, have your cover letter on the screen, and if they want somebody who has experience in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, I'm experienced in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. They want somebody fast in a fast-paced environment. I thrive in a fast-paced environment. Like you literally
Mhm.
need to like take what they want in the job and put it in your cover letter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because resumes should not be more than a page. You
So
should be
cover
able
letter.
it's almost like a written elevator pitch almost. So your
Mhm.
cover letter is really your way to, uh,
Have your voice.
have your yeah, exactly, have your voice be heard, but it also shouldn't be, like, too wordy, you know?
Yeah. And then once you have everything all perfectly in line and all color coordinated and stuff, because your resume and your cover letter should be the same color, and please
Mhm.
hex code that
Yes.
as a
And
graphics designer.
also your reference sheet. So what I did is I made I didn't send it right away, but once they asked for that reference list, everything matched
Yeah.
according to formatting and color and font and everything. So those 3 I would say, not just the 2.
Yeah. Once you have everything in line, including a portfolio too, which you could do like a website, or even I've seen people do like a mini Instagram and stuff. You can apply and hopefully you'll get an interview. And let me tell you, for somebody who has interviewed a bunch of times, interviewing for a retail job is way different than interviewing for a corporate job. Um, it's so weird. In Vermont, there's a very casual vibe. Like people wear jeans and a zip up sweatshirt to work. Where in New York City, it's like fashion week.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you wear? Obviously, I think sometimes it's even harder to find out what to wear at a job interview in Vermont than New York. Because New York, you obviously know it's like head to toe blazer, you know? Um, but in Vermont, it's like, what do you wear? Especially on like a Zoom interview. And I always say you should get dressed up more. Like you should be more dressed up than less dressed up.
Oh,
Cause like
totally.
you're gonna be more confident, you're gonna be fly as hell. And it just like looks good. It looks professional. And make sure you have a background that's like nice and organized and really shows your personality, especially for
Not
those Zoom.
distracting.
Yeah, very clean and very simple. Plants are always a good idea, even though this one's a fake one. I'm sorry, everyone. No plants grow in my bedroom. But yeah, outfits are like a big thing. You know, always I know your outfit isn't everything in life, but it is a first impression.
And it
And
can also give you confidence. I mean, like, I
Mhm.
feel like a badass bitch when I put a blazer on. Like, I'm not going to wear it every day because once I have the job, I'm good. But, like,
Yeah.
kind of gives you that, like, shoulders back, like, damn, I'm powerful. I've got this, like, I've got my red lip on, like you are more ready to go. And it might be a confidence booster for you.
Yeah, and then like once you come to the part where like obviously the first question they're always going to ask you is tell me about yourself. And that
Ugh,
everyone always thinks that means like tell me your life story, but it means tell me your career story. Like that's what that means. Like
yeah,
briefly tell them where you went to college, what you studied, and then experiences take experiences from your past jobs and how they would apply to the position you're applying for. Like that's my favorite
exactly.
thing to do.
Yeah.
And also like don't be afraid to practice. Like you can Google top 10 questions people ask in interviews. And I practiced with my partner. It's just like an elevator pitch. You got to be prepared for that kind of stuff because you
Yeah.
think you know your story, and then the moment comes and you get tongue twisted.
Exactly. And like it is encouraged. It is not looked down upon to not have questions at the end of the interview. They want you to have questions at the end of your interview as the interviewee. Ask about the company culture. Ask about employee engagement. Ask about
Brittany,
what's your favorite thing about working here.
Brittany, ask me if I have any questions.
Kaylee, do you have any questions about the job you're applying for today?
Yeah, I actually have one question. My question is, sorry.
And
Sorry.
then don't do
Hold
that.
no, 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 no. I'm sorry, I laughed. I giggled. Yeah, my question is, the person like you've hired a bunch for this position, and I'm wondering how I can make this position more successful. It's have you had any? What are the challenges you have had in this position, and how can I make this position successful and impactful?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my favorite. Cause then like they tell you like what's going on in the position, how can you help? And then like on your first day, you know what you need to do.
Exactly. And like you know what you're getting yourself into. Like I not in this job that I currently have, but I remember going to apply for it was my old radio job where they had a problem with a former employee just not showing up. And I'm like, well, that's the bare minimum I could do. But they were like, one thing that really annoys me is that they would do this wrong and they would do this wrong. So I made sure going in that I didn't do that. Another thing is my other job, my other marketing job. They said, if I could have you do one thing in this job, it would be this. It would be you upgrading this or you innovating this. So I kind of wrap my head and I'm like, okay, now I have to, between now and the time I start, if I'm offered, I should get better at this. And this offers you, when you're talking to the person about, you know, after your first interview, maybe you go into a second interview with them and you say, "Oh, I actually, I took your advice and I watched a YouTube video on survey design. And I feel like I'm now more qualified to take that project on if hired." And that shows initiative and you're not even hired yet, you know?
Yeah, yeah, they wanna see a go-getter, they wanna see a self-starter. I know a lot of people would rather have someone who's motivated and driven and will seek out questions they have and find the answers than somebody who, like, already knows how to do everything, but is, like, a soggy noodle or, like, mean about it, you know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
want a team player, and especially in my field, like, you can have someone who codes websites like beautifully, but if they don't know how to communicate with their own team or with a client, not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yay. We're gonna take another break, but when we come back, we're gonna be talking about what do you do after you interview and then you get hired.
Ooh.
And then also what do you do when you interview and you don't get the job? Boo. So I actually want to end on a story that happened to me literally last week. Um, I think this is like a full cycle, like what we've been talking about this whole episode too. Uh, it's been really competitive applying for jobs, and like my mental health has been going like this all semester because not only are you trying to finish up your final semester and like your capstone and stuff, but you're also trying to apply for jobs and um I've applied for big companies, I've applied for small companies, I've applied in New York, I've been applying in Burlington, and there's sometimes I apply to stuff which I know the job description doesn't exactly match mine, but I do it anyway just in case. And sometimes I get a rejection letter and it stings even though I knew it was coming. And other times people just don't even answer me back. Like literally yesterday, I got a rejection letter from the company who runs Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein because I applied for their summer internship 3 months ago, and now they finally
Dang.
answered me back. But
Yeah.
at least they got to me. Um, but I applied for a company in Burlington who they didn't exactly fit my what I want to do in life, but it was close enough and it was a job, so I was really excited about it. And I applied and I got an interview and I went through four different people, including the HR person, the head strategist, the CEO, and the current person in that position.
Hmm.
I interviewed with four different people. I was really nervous about it. It was my first interviews ever. Um, and I ended up not getting the job.
Wow.
And I thought it was like a done deal. Like I was like, are they gonna hire me yet? Like I'm confused. Um, I told all my family about it. Like I was really excited. I was prepared to quit my part-time job, like getting ready for it. And it just like wasn't the right fit. And part of me was devastated, like, you failed, or, they don't want you, you're not good enough, or, you didn't do something right, which, that always comes with rejection. And then the other half of me was like, you know what? Like, this was a networking opportunity. Um, I was like, one door closes, another one opens. Like it was kind of forced anyway. Like I didn't really see myself happy there, but I could be happy if I made myself kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I'm just here to say that, rejection sucks. It sucks a lot, and everyone gets rejected. I know everybody's looking at those happy inspirational moments on Facebook and LinkedIn where people got the job, they graduated, they had a baby, they had a wedding. But there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into those ventures without like you seeing it on social media. And that's why I do think it's it's kind of refreshing when I see people share their authentic self on social media, sharing their experiences of rejection, because it's not just all butterflies, rainbows, and lucky charms. It
Yeah.
is There is heartbreak, there is a lot of mental frustration and emotional grief that goes into all of this process. And you just have to know that you're going to find your way, and if not, cultivate your own way, aka start your own business.
Yeah. I mean, rejection sucks. And like, as you say, from your own experience, it might just take you a little bit longer to get to the same destination. And that's okay. I mean, if you have to work retail for a year while you look for a job that actually will mean something to you in the long run, would you rather be like miserable at a job that, you just accepted because it's
Because it's a
because it's a
paycheck.
yeah, because it's a paycheck? Or would you rather take a moment to, enhance one more thing on your resume, or take a moment to, network a little bit longer, or wait for an opportunity that, is even better? And
Mhm.
another thing on top of that is, I know you said that you applied for jobs that you didn't 100% feel qualified for, but ultimately it was an experience. I mean, whether you got an interview or not, y- it was an experience that you wouldn't have if you didn't try.
Yeah, you're making opportunities for yourself, and now you're on the company's radar. So that's also a good thing. And then I think it's also crazy to think that you can say no to a job offer.
Yeah.
Like you can go through all of that and you're not. Give me a second.
Okay.
Get in here. Come on.
Kitty.
Sorry, everyone. Kitty.
Hello.
Um, what was I saying? Rejection. You can let me start that over. I think it's important that you can say no to a
Yeah.
job offer. Like you might think you're wasting somebody's time with the interview process, but honey, it's your time. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I
And
mean?
like, it's so important to know your worth. Like, not just salary wise, but if you're going to be treated like crap at a company, you deserve better. You didn't just go through 16 plus years of school to be treated like in an inhumane, like toxic workplace.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it's okay to, for something to not be your forever job. That's okay.
and speaking of knowing your worth, if you do fall in love with the position and you do accept the job, like you should negotiate your salary. That's like, and especially for women, we tend to not negotiate our salary and we tend to settle, and that is not okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Know your worth.
if you literally, do you want to let him out or
Yeah,
okay?
Danny, can you feed him his wet food? Danny, Danny, Danny.
I'm here by myself. Kitty. Crispy boy.
Can you feed him his wet food? Thank you. I was like, where are you? Oh my god.
Kitty.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, we were talking
So,
about,
knowing your worth.
yeah.
So, yeah, females do not negotiate. And it's, I mean, of course, there's the wage gap already that is systemic in our society. But knowing your worth in terms of, if you're going to put 100%, 110% into a job that is requiring you to work 50 plus hours and you're only making 40,000, no, like that's not cool. You deserve better. And whether that be putting boundaries on the job in the hours in which you are working, or asking for more money, especially if you do have a more advanced degree or expertise that they find valuable. One of the things that I struggle with is, um, you know, one, working too late because already feel anxiety that that I don't have enough time to do stuff. But maybe that's a conversation that, if the company really doesn't want to lose you, or the company, before you even accept the offer, finds your skills more valuable than other applicants, they will give you the money. They would rather not lose you.
And what are they gonna do? Like, the worst they can say is no.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just because you ask for more and they say no doesn't mean you don't have the job. That just means you have a little bit more consideration to do.
Yeah. And Brittany, I want to end on this. For our whole conversation about post grad, there's a lot of options that you can go. And this time right now can be really frustrating and like confusing. I know I'm feeling that right now. Every day I wake up and I'm like, what's my purpose in life? I don't even know.
I
Like,
mean,
what am I
I'm
meant to do?
26 and I still do that. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of different paths you can take, and just know that you have the support system around you, you have the resources available to you, and if you don't, ask. And like, everybody is on their own journey and has their own story and has their own frustrations behind all of their decisions as well. So don't compare yourself to other people.
no.
Um like I said, ask for help, and also do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the
And
day, it's like you're the one who chooses this life decision for yourself, not your mom, not your dad, not, you know, your partner. Like, it's you that has to be happy in life.
exactly. And one more thing about like offers and stuff is like, make sure you understand what benefits are coming to you as well, because if you don't get, like, if you have to rely on super prescription glasses and there's no vision insurance included, for example, like, that's money you're going to have to be taking out of your salary anyway to put towards the benefit out of pocket. But make sure that you understand that the salary dollar wise plus the benefits equals the compensation package, not just what is going into your bank account and then may or may not be on the benefits package. So make sure you read that before making any offers. Make sure if they don't send you a benefits package, get one, whether that be from the hirer or the human resources department. Make sure you have the most current benefits package. Read it thoroughly. If you have a partner or significant other, maybe you're married and you have a partner that has medical insurance, compare those two plans. Um, Make sure that you are getting the full package when you accept an offer. And yeah, to end this episode, I just say that you're entering a crazy economy, a crazy workplace, and you've gone through a lot, especially this year's graduates, whether you're in high school or graduating from college. You've been through hell and back, man. Like, I graduated from college in 2016, and I could tell you up straight, y'all have more strength than I would have back then if the pandemic would have happened my junior and senior year of college. You guys have been through it all, and you definitely have more strength than anybody that is in working in organizations right now. And that deserves kudos. And you're in a very competitive time with a lot of graduates. It may just not be the right time, and that's okay. But
Mhm.
don't give up hope. People that accept jobs in may come to hate it by August. So there may be more openings down the road, and there's always turnover. And, you know, you just have to kind of take it one day at a time. The 20s are not meant to be your forever career. It's meant to be a building block to bigger and better things down the road. And just make sure that you're not being taken advantage of either. I know it's a fine line, but you've got this.
Yo, we should make that a hashtag, one day at a time.
Hashtag one
Honestly,
day at a
though.
time.
Well, thank you, Lady Probbers, for tuning in for our special comeback. Um, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Spotify. Where else are we on, Brittany?
We're everywhere. I mean, we'll post stuff on our social. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode and we are so excited we are back. We really missed all of you guys and yeah, we're so excited to put out a few more episodes. Next we'll be talking about living on your own and when you accept that job and you're ready to fly the coop as they say, what do you have to look forward to?
Mhm. See ya.
Bye.